Welcome to episode 1
Yes.
of our new show. She is Lais, and I am the coach, and that is the name of our show.
First of all, if there's ever been a time for personal bubble, this is
We will always stay true to what we do. What you're doing is going to get you to the next place.
Right.
Throw the list away. It's only a matter of time before you cave.
You can look way better than you used to.
Such a great experience.
Well, like it knows everything you've given.
Shown curiosity. What if it actually works?
I've been chopped out como persona.
100%.
An extra vitamin.
City right now. Sometimes it is a member.
Welcome, everybody. Peace out, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to Lais and the Coach. And on today's episode, we have a brand new person to talk to that just finished doing the Fitness Atlantic show at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut and started working on her journey almost 3 years ago, or a little over 3 years ago, and never really set out to step on stage. But like all things, kept progressing, and little by little, one step led to the next step. And after one milestone and the next one, ended up stepping on stage this weekend and is gearing up for so many more things. So Rachelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Excited. We're excited to chat.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning to give people a little bit of insight to how you even got started here. I remember when you and I spoke on the phone, you were in the middle of a snowstorm.
Mm-hmm.
That was back
Yeah.
in February 2023.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And you were stationed out there as a traveling nurse.
Yes. We got
Wyoming?
up there in October, and so I stayed until September. So we were there for about a year.
In Wyoming.
In Wyoming, we were about an hour from Yellowstone in an
Okay.
RV.
Why
So-
in an RV?
An RV with my husband and a German Shepherd. And so like we survived below 50, below 30, a couple feet of snow. It is beautiful country out there, but you have to, take the seasons as they come.
And how long have you been a traveling nurse?
So I travel nurse for about 3 years.
Okay.
I've been an ICU nurse for over 20. I've been in the hospital for over 30. Started as a secretary. And then I came back home. When did we come back? I think I did a local contract here in Nashville, and then I've been teaching since November of.
And then in the middle of this, like you're a travel nurse and you're like, you know what? I want to start working on my health. I want to start working on my fitness. How did that like come about? Did anything trigger it? Was it on the back burner? Did you just wake up one day and say, I want to do this?
No, actually, I did like 5Ks every like month in Austin because that's where I'm originally from, Texas, in that
Okay.
area for a long time. And so we moved to Nashville, and it's like I've gained this weight, still try to work out, still try to do all the things I was doing in Texas. Wasn't working. I did 2 hours working out every day for 2 years. Didn't work. Weighed exactly the same. Did nothing for the year. And then COVID hit. And then I worked 60, 70, 80 hours a week, still the same. And then I kind of got burnt out. Some things happens at the house, decided to travel, make the money in less hours, hopefully. Still, nothing was working. Hormone replacement didn't work. Semaglutide, I got hypoglycemic, didn't work. And so something had to give. I've tried the workout, I've tried everything. And so I told myself, it's got to be the food. It's got to be something. And I need to pay somebody to do the micros and the macros. I can't, no, too much math. So you have a teammate, Tiffany, that her daughter and my daughter cheered, and she did this. I knew she was running during practices and working out just as crazy as I was. And then she was actually having a difference. So whatever she was doing, and ran across one of her shares from you guys.
Okay.
And decided just go ahead and I've tried everything else. Let's give this a try.
And-
I love that.
And here we are 2 years
Here we
later.
are.
So
Awesome.
like along the way, I think that from the first time that you started to the goal that we set out along the way, which was a photo shoot, how much weight did you lose in that first time frame?
The first photo shoot, I think I got the weight loss on that one. Let's see, I think we started 240-ish. And I think I was hitting right around that underneath that 200 mark in that first photo shoot.
All right, so we had like a little over 40 pounds.
At least, yeah, 40, 50-ish.
Okay. And that was and I guess I'm asking because again, like a lot of times people listen and most people have the same things going on. They're busy, they work, they have lifing for them all the time. And you were working, in severe conditions and
In an RV, traveling. She's a mom,
right.
right? She's a wife.
And again, working really long hours, and still you manage to, at the very least, be intentional about the things that you were eating.
Being intentional and then breaking it up, because we started with the 10-minute walks after breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was working, we only had 6 nurses in the whole hospital in Wyoming. So
Wow.
sometimes I was the only ICU nurse in that unit. And so it was an L shape. So I'd just get out and tell the person that is watching the telemonitors, the heart monitors, I was like, I'm going to take my walk. And I'm walking in front of the desk for 10 minutes. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to try this.
Mhm.
So, and I would tell my patients that were conscious, it's like, I'm just walking the hallways. Don't worry about me. And I would do my 10 minutes.
They're probably like, is she losing her mind? Pacing back and forth like a psycho. I love that. I love that.
I think a lot of times when I say that to people, because I do say that often,
Yeah.
I say it because it's manageable, right? It's like it's 10 minutes, and you could do 10 minutes in one place, or you could walk 5 minutes down the street and back. And I think that a lot of times for a lot of people, it's too simple, right? It's almost like that's not going to do anything, so they don't do it. But I'm always talking about the compound effect of everything over time. So you were able to be a little bit more intentional with your food choices. You were more intentional with, again, you're working out for 2 hours, and here we are doing 10-minute walks in the middle of your shift. And little by little, the combination of both things together started to move your body in the right direction.
Yeah, and then starting off with, because we do have very stressful jobs in the medical field and everything, and you go home and you just make bad choices because you haven't eaten all day. At halftime, you don't even get to drink water all the days because you're so busy, the demands that are so constant. And then, yeah, you do make bad choices, or you're drinking half the bottle of wine at home, when you get home because you had a bad shift. So
For sure.
it's definitely, you have to be present in everything that you're doing.
And when you first started, you weren't really gearing up for the stage or the shoot, right?
No,
You were just like, I need to get this going. Like, I need to do something to change the way I look and change the way I feel. But there was no actual goal attached to it.
That's true. It wasn't. It was just because in your head you think that you look a certain way and feel a certain way, and it was not working out. And I know that as you get older, your body's going to have the cracks and creaks, and things are not going to look like or feel like you were 20s because we already abused it. But it should not be that tiring when to walk up 2 or 3 flights of stairs. It should not be, where you just like, ugh, I'm tired. I can't lift, a few pounds when you've been doing it all this time. And I've always been very active in doing things. And my mom is pretty much a old hippie, preventive everything, vitamin C cures everything. So, it's just, I feel like you need to keep moving. We're
You
not
gotta keep
made to
moving.
be sedentary. We're not made to be sitting.
Yeah.
Is that something that you see a lot more of now, that people are just sitting more, sitting longer? And how much is that influencing how sick they get?
Oh, that's a lot. It was really interesting to, like I said, out in Wyoming, because there's ranchers, it's farmers, it's hunters. I mean, even the females, the girls that I worked with, they hunt, and you would have these 80-year-old farm moms, or farm ranch wives come in, and they only have like hypertension, or they only have one little thing, and they just came in because their heart kind of out of whack. That's most 20-year-olds here in the bigger cities. They have a laundry list of things that are wrong with them, and it's just like the food choices for whatever reasons that you make. And it's crazy because doing it with you lately, there's hardly any protein in any meals you get. It's all carbs. And so when you even fast food, you have to read labels to understand it. And if you're not moving because you're sitting at a desk or you're sitting in front of a TV. Everybody, they get home, they sit in front of the TV. The kids are on electronics. They're not moving like they used to.
Where do you think the resistance is? Like, because you can't watch TV without there being another ad for something else that's going to help somebody lose weight. But it obviously isn't working, because if it was, then there wouldn't be the situation that there is. Where do you think people are missing it? Is it too much information? Is it like too many things coming at you that makes it so confusing?
I don't know if it's too much information or misinformation, but the fact is, like, my husband's like, you didn't get this way overnight. You can't expect to get back to the way you were overnight. And a lot of people want that instantaneous gratification with it, healthcare or losing weight. We go to the gym, you work out for a month, you think, oh, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, and then that's it. You not realizing you still have to go to the gym, you still have to work out, you have to maintain it, or you're going to lose it.
Mm-hmm. And so how long were you already in your process before we decided to jump into that very first photo shoot?
I think when I watched you guys do the podcast with Brian over Atlantic Fitness,
Hmm.
and it's just throwing the idea around. And so it was probably, I think I told you about within 12 to 9 months is when I mentioned it to you guys. But I already had it in my head. If that was the one I was going to do, I was going to do that one. Because
Right.
all he did was talk about the transformation.
But that was a show. I'm saying the photo shoot.
The first photo
Oh,
shoot.
the first photo shoot? Well, we had to organize that one with, I think that coincided with me already coming off the road and working here in Nashville. And it was closer because there was
Yeah.
no way I was going to be able, because some flights, it was scary to drive to the airport on some of the flights from
I can
Wyoming
imagine. I can
because of the
imagine.
snow. And so, because the closest airport was Denver. So you'd have to drive 6 hours across Wyoming just to get to the airport.
Oh my
And
God.
so I think with the photo shoot, it was probably about 3 or 4 months.
Okay. And I remember that first photo shoot so vividly because I remember you brought your daughter and you were so nervous. You were like, this is so awkward. I feel so nervous. How was that for you? How did you feel in that very first one?
I want to go home. Because they have that camaraderie. It's not like they weren't welcoming or anything, but they already have that camaraderie, and they've been with you guys for a while, and you have that established relationship, and you're like the new kid on the block. You don't know what's going on. You don't know the flow of anything. And it's like, you want me to do what now? And you're still working on yourself, and you're like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. And so, yeah, it's pretty much the same. Like when y'all post the deadlines, the countdowns and everything, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do this. But I put too much work into it to not.
In retrospect, and I think that we can bounce back and forth, but in retrospect, would you have done this Fitness Atlantic show if you hadn't done the photo shoots?
No.
Because
I
you
would've
did
done the photo
multiple.
shoots
You did,
first.
was it two photo shoots or three photo shoots? Three photo shoots before your show. And each photo shoot, not only did you physically look different, but obviously you felt different, right? Your outfits were different. The way you felt behind the camera was different. And we always say that always leads, right? It's about the goals. So it's almost like you don't go run a full marathon or however that works. I don't know anything about running, but I do know that there's a longer one and a shorter one, right? So it's like you don't go for the big thing. You kind of like do things along the way to prepare you physically, mentally for the big thing that you're going to go do. But I agree with you. I don't think you would have even contemplated a show had you not already shown yourself what's possible in a photo shoot, which is honestly scary, just as scary to most people that haven't done it.
It is, because it's like, the baby steps. You have to, like get out of that comfort zone in any way. It's like if you're doing the photo shoots and you're seeing all the crazy things and you're like, I don't know about this. And then you go ahead and do it. And it's kind of like this. We have this thing in nursing where it's only a 12-hour shift. We can do anything in 12 hours. And then you'll have somebody come by and it's like, we can do anything in 4 hours because we're tired. And it's 7 o'clock, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like, we got 4 more hours. We can do anything, in that time frame. We can do anything. And then it's weird because it's a cliche and you see did you die? Nope, nothing bad happened. So we'll just keep on going. And it's kind of like you were talking about being a mom and raising kids. My kids are adults now, but you lose yourself while you raise the kids. So at the same time, you're finding yourself again. Now the kids are gone, and learning about your new self. Because you can't go back when you were 20 before the kids, and the kids have kind of changed you, and you focused on them, and now you're re-changing that focus on yourself.
Let me ask you, because I'm sure, like, after a few of the things that we've said, people want to know, so how much weight have you lost overall?
Let's see, I usually hang around that 180 range. Probably 60 pounds so far. And it's not really the weight, it's the composition of the body.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times it's easier for somebody to hear the amount of weight before we go into the way that somebody's actually transformed the way they look.
Yeah.
Because we talk about it all the time. It's like, the way you look is a much better indicator of whether or not what you're doing is working or not. Because if you're trying to change your appearance, then whatever the scale says, it's one measurement. It's not that you don't want to worry about it, but it's just one of the factors. But I think it makes it easier for people to relate when they can hear it's like, wow, she lost 60 pounds along the way. And along the way, she transformed the way that she looked without like giving up any of the things that she enjoys eating, because we have plenty of meals that you go out to eat with your husband, plenty of flexibility along the way. Like anything else, there are plenty of times where you've got to be a little bit more intentional and focus with the choices that you're making. But for the most part, like there are, there's a lot of room there for, fun foods or social time, social foods or out foods. And I'd say that the biggest win is probably that because we do it that way, it's a lot easier to keep the weight off than it would be if somebody completely overhauled their life and threw everything out of the cupboards and said, I'm going to cut out salt and sugar and this and that and the other, and let's see how long that lasts, So I think along the way, we've definitely done it in a way where, the weight that you've lost is yours to lose and
The weight loss is yours to keep.
yours to keep. And aside from you deciding to go in another direction with how you're eating it, there's really no reason for you to gain it because we haven't severely cut down on how much food you're consuming. We just organize it in a way that works for you.
Yeah, because it's been pretty much consistent in that 180 range, but I went from pretty much an extra large or large, and now I'm like in the middle of mediums, almost hitting smalls now. So like when we talked at the very beginning, it wasn't about a number on a scale; it was the size.
Right.
I wanted to get down to a certain size, not a weight.
Right.
Yep. And you have, and you're well on your way. And now you're 4 photo shoots in, your very first show in. You probably wouldn't even recognize this person if we showed her to you 2 years ago when you were in that RV in Wyoming. And also to your point, then I didn't want to not say this. You're so right about how not only do moms, we talk all the time how moms put themselves on the back burner, but beyond that, we do lose ourselves. It's not just that in the everyday stuff we put ourselves last, but it's also that process does change you. And I think, that was an important point that you made, because a lot of times we're trying to find that previous version of ourselves, and she's not there. Because you're right, you change. You can't not change. You can't unmom. Like, you can't undo the fact that you went through all of that, right? That you've experienced all the different things that come with motherhood. And so you're the 20-year-old version of yourself, and then you go through all of these different experiences that change you, and then you find yourself not really knowing who you are or not really happy with where you are. But the cool thing about that is that you get to create it, right? Like, you get to create who that next version of you is now with all of that knowledge and all of those experiences. And I wanted to say that because I feel like a lot of the people that watch and listen always have an excuse for why they're in the place that they're in. I think people in general, like very few people are, self-aware enough to be like, of course I can, or if that person did it, then why not me, right? So again, like, you lost a ton of weight, you have kids, you're busy, you're not 20 years old. And so a lot of those things, it's like, we all have that. We all are busy. We all have kids. We all are in our 40s and 50s. Like, it just is what it is. And it's still possible. What do you think was like the most challenging part of the whole thing for you in terms of, with all of those things happening, how you were able to get all of that in?
So the challenging thing is I really do have a really good support system. Of course, my family knows I'm crazy. And so like you said, the marathon, we moved to Nashville. I did a half marathon. It's all uphill, by the way. So as long as I was in front of the truck, the pacing car, I didn't care. But it's like, I want to do this. It's like, okay, so we're going to do this every day. If they may grumble and they might gripe about what we're doing, it's like, but they're supportive of me and what I want to do. And so that helps. And if you don't have that, because even my husband, when I'm like, he's like, you can't have that. I'm going to tell coach. I'm going to really tell him what you're eating. And it's like, no, I'll leave it alone. So he'll mention that every now and then, but at the same time, he's like, I'm so tired of this. But if you don't have the support system, I think a lot of people, like when I go to work and I work with a bunch of 20s and 30-year-olds. Now I have two really good coworkers. They're very supportive. They want to see the pictures. They want to know, they text me the day of the show. But then when you originally mention it, they'll look at you like, aren't you a little old for that? And it's kind of like, it's not your social norm that that you run into people doing this. And then I'm teaching classes with 20 and 30 and 4-year-olds. And, I like to do fun facts, and they'll say that. And they're like, you do what? You go on stage, what? And it's like, because it's not a norm. Well, who says it's a norm? It's my norm.
Right.
Love it.
So why can't we just change the person, the social norm of that?
Speaking of the fun facts, because you told me this, and I think it's really cool for other people to hear. Tell me what you do in your class where you ask people and then how their responses usually are. Run us quickly through that story you told me, because I think it's really impactful.
So which one?
The one where you ask them the fun facts about themselves, and then a lot of them.
Oh, yes. So I like to, like I said, I like to do the fun facts, and I have lots of little tidbits because that's how I am. And so when they go around, like, I don't have any of that. And I was like, well, it doesn't have to be big. You can, whatever. And they'll all tell me that that either they're married or they have kids or they have dogs. And it's not about them.
You're like, that's not a fun fact about you.
Yeah, I want to know about you. Do you knit? Do you, because I have a coworker, she knits all these cute little things that the dogs love to eat. And so it's not, like, do you read books? It's nothing about them. They'll tell me like, I have kids, or I have a husband, or I have dogs. And it's kind of like, well, that's not really what I was going for, but okay.
But I think that the reason why I wanted you to say that is because it's true for anybody listening now. It's like, what are 3 fun facts about you as a person, right? Not like the people around you or the thing you do, like you as a person.
Yeah, what a cool test. If you're watching or listening, right, put in the comments 3 fun facts.
Yeah.
I'll put mine in the comments.
Yeah, me too. And what about you, Rachelle? What 3 fun facts do you use? So you say I'm a fitness competitor?
I do fitness shows, and they're like, what's that? And I'll tell them. And then I actually played an extra as a nurse on a television show.
Woo.
I have done the half marathon. We stayed in Wyoming in an RV for a year, with snow and everything.
Crazy.
So it's things that I have gone to 11 different high schools.
Wow.
7 junior highs and 3 elementary schools.
Look at that.
So like I said, I've like to go and see and do things. I've never been stationary. I was in the Air Force.
Amazing.
Third generation. My 2 oldest boys went the military route. So yeah. So like I said, that I've never done anything I would regret, but I would regret not trying it.
I love that.
When we tell people that we did 50 weeks of Airbnb last year, it's like everybody's like, you so crazy. It's like, how many stories we have because of that? How many things we did as a result of like one decision? And I think to your point, so many people are just existing through life and not really living, not really doing.
Yeah.
And it leads for a lot of emptiness and a lot less experience. And I think that there's so much to see and do that, most people are just missing out. Like, and even on the simpler things, and even us, if we like to drive as well, it's like we've seen so many things just driving through the US that you just never see if you fly somewhere,
Yeah.
100%. We had a nurse from the Philippines. They use international nursing. And so he was in Wyoming, and they were going to drive at night to Las Vegas. And I told him, no, you need to go during the day. He's looking at me like, why? I said, because you're going to see a mountain range turn into a desert. And what's the possibility of doing that? And so when he came back, he's like, you were so right. I was like, you have to at least drive it during the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you can see.
It's all the little things. It's like you set off on a, weight loss or transformation journey, and then you do a photo shoot, you do a fitness show, you travel somewhere you've never been. It's like one thing leads to the other, and it's really just a matter of saying yes to one thing, and kind of like going with the flow and allowing yourself to participate in more things, which leads me to, how was that first show for you? How did it go? Like was it what you thought you were signing up for? Was it bigger and better? Was it scary? Like, how was it?
It was pretty scary. I mean, because you're going up there and you're presenting something, and it's just like anything else, you're presenting something, whether if you're in a dress or in a bikini. I mean, you're just showing more skin and what you've worked on. It was, I kind of, the way that the lighting was, I kind of wish it was more of a darker and more of an emphasis, I guess, more like the nighttime show was, but it was still a good practice run. Because you asked me what would you, I was like, I can do better. Get the nerves out, just like with anything you're doing, anything new, just get the nerves out. You say you've done it, you've, like, the photo shoots, the same thing. You standing there like, huh, what did I sign up for? This is crazy. And then the second one's like, oh yeah, this is how it usually runs. And then you just kind of get more comfortable and you keep doing it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think for a lot of people that are maybe on the fence and kind of maybe avoiding the whole thing, it's like everything can be a practice run, right? Like, you can go to the show and do all the things, and in your mind it'd be like, this is just a practice run. And your second one can be a practice run,
That's a
and your
good
third one
point.
can be a practice run.
That's such a good
Your 10th one can be a practice
Yeah,
run.
11,
Like,
12, 13.
it's
It's
like,
so crazy because you're right to that point. It's like everyone takes everything so seriously. They take themselves so seriously. Like, we're all so petrified of what somebody's gonna think, and nobody's fucking paying attention to you.
right.
Right? Like, only you are. And it's one of those things where it's like, wow, like, how much more would we do? Like, literally, like, thinking about this now, like, how much more would we do if we weren't worried about what it was gonna look like? And I get it. It's petrifying to go up. We're all afraid of judgment, and you're going up there to get judged in a bikini, right? So I get it. But if you didn't look at it that way, right, and you did look at it like, I will regret more not doing things than doing things, and if you look at it like, okay, get it out of the way, get a practice run, let's see how this feels, and then let's go for it again, and let's do it this way. It's like, if you couldn't fail, if you couldn't get it wrong, if you weren't worried about what anybody else is going to think or say, then how much more would you do, and how would you do it?
I know.
Isn't that
This is so,
crazy?
you read all the quotes of like Ford and everything, like, how do you measure success of all the failures you went through to get there? And so how are you going to know unless you take that, put your toe in the water and went, well, and you fail. Okay, well, I can do it better.
That's it.
Next time I can do it better. It's practice with anything. You
That's
tell your
it.
kids you need to practice so you can get better.
And I guess to that point, like, now that you've done 3 photo shoots, you've done a show, 4 photo shoots. Wow, like, listen, this isn't AI. Like, I'm a real person.
How dare you make a mistake?
Right? Like,
She did
I
3
love it.
photo shoots and summer
Yes,
show weekend,
I
and on the
know.
show weekend she did a 4th
Yes.
one. Yes.
Now that you've done 4 photo shoots and the show, what do you say to somebody who is on the other side saying, I wish I could, but I just can't, or I got too many things going on, or they're unsure, they're nervous, or whatever the number of things that people are thinking that stop them from doing anything? After going through this part of your journey, what do you say to that person?
Definitely reach out and talk to, like, like I did with you, talk to you, per se, or a coach, or some kind of nutrition way that I think that's a huge part of it. Nutrition and exercising, and start small. Talk to, if you're with family, talk to your family. Those are the ones that are going to support you. I am very lucky, especially with the husband that I have, and during COVID, I mean, he cooks pretty much 95% of the meals. He goes to the grocery store. He does all the things. He even gets gas for me when I kind of sneak it in. But if it wasn't him, it would be the kids. They're backing up. Mom, if this is what you want to do, if it makes you happy. And that's the thing. It makes you happy, then we're going to be here to support you. And then you can break it down. Do your 10 minutes. get up and you got to get up and stretch. I mean, just walk around, find a path. I worked in one hospital that I would just I'd eat at the desk, which we're not supposed to, but I would find a path in the hospital and map out my 30-minute break and walk. That was my walk. Just break it up. You can break it up in small pieces. And that's what we started with, was small pieces.
I don't think that, like, we've asked that question so many times. I don't think anyone's ever said talk to your support circle or system. Like,
I don't think anyone's ever said any of the shit you just said, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly,
That's what they said at the show too.
You know why? Because most people be like, just do it, just go for it, which I completely agree with, and it's what I would say. But I think you went down to the specifics because some people, you're right, you should talk to a professional, and you should talk to your support system, and you should know that you can take bites, right? You don't need to eat the whole pie. You don't need to have the whole puzzle piece. You can do it one chunk at a time and it all adds up. Like, that's actually really valuable advice.
Absolutely.
It's like you hand a book to a kid and go, okay, now I expect you to take a test on this whole book in a week. And they're going, do what? You want me to do what? No, you learn by chapter, or you learn by lesson to build the chapter. And so it's all building blocks. And that's,
Absolutely.
you have to break it down and go, okay, I want to like the show. I do not want to trip. That's why it was so funny. Y'all were talking about how I was posing. I don't want to trip on air. You guys don't understand, and that was my whole thing. And I don't want to, I mean, poor Catherine put all this energy in this bikini. I don't want to trip on the stage at all. So that was my main focus. Just do not trip when you're up there.
Well, when we first met, you're like, I don't even really wear heels, right? I'm in scrubs all day and I don't.
And tennis shoes, yeah.
You're like, I haven't worn heels in years. And I'm like, it's crazy, but it's amazing because those are the types of things that we love, because it's like, now you walk in heels, now you stand up taller, now you can dress different, now you're a smaller size, right? All of those things are like life things. They're not stage things, but the stage allows us to get there, right? And to have this you in your everyday life. And with that said, what was the most impactful thing about this entire stage experience for you? Like the stage weekend, prepping for the stage, going on stage, like when you come out of that on the other side and you look back and you have a second to reflect, like what was the most impactful part of going for that?
So Gort is not backing out of it. Honestly, you can put all the work in it, but even, you have to put 30 days, how many weeks, you got a week left, it's 3 days, whatever. And you still have an initial thought like, yeah, I'm going to back out, but you don't, because then you start thinking about all the work you put into it. So that was the thing. Cause that's my initial thing is like, yeah, I'm out. See ya. But it's I will force myself, no, because you'll regret backing out.
Yeah.
So that's that initial, now I did it. Now, what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
That's my next thing.
Seeing it through.
Oh, definitely seeing it through. I've always had a project. If it wasn't school or working on myself or working on a career, it was always a project.
I love it.
That's amazing. Guys, like, we've interviewed a lot of people, and I think that the fresh perspective on this conversation is definitely one that a lot of you haven't heard, and a lot of you should like make note of, because as we have more conversations and as we have more people that go through this journey, like the idea here is that you get something out of it from somebody else's experience and not just ours.
Yeah.
So Rachelle, thank you so much for sharing all of your insight on today's show. And we can't wait to share what's next for you along the way. And we look forward to having you on the show again.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
All right, everybody, you know what to do. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget to leave your 3
fun facts
in the
about
comment section
yourself.
below. Until next time, peace out, everybody.